My name is Nick Glaze, and this is my journey to becoming a teacher with a master's degree in digital teaching and learning. In the beginning, I never thought about being a teacher. My only goals were to become a successful businessman in the corporate world, and to be the first person in my family to attend and graduate from a four-year university. In 2005, I graduated from UCSB with my bachelor's degree in business economics and sociology. This is where my journey kind of hit a rough patch, but also began to be led by God. It was never clear to me until now what God had planned for me. With no job openings in the business world, I did what most recent college grads do, work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. It was at this position that I learned valuable management skills that can be applied in the classroom. This is also where I would meet my future wife. At this point in my career, I thought I would always be in sales. I decided to work for two different companies, Black Book and Supermedia, with both outside and inside sales. Life was good. I got married and was introduced to a family of teachers. I began to be swamped at family events with discussions of standardized test scores, preps, and students. I would look aimlessly around as I could not contribute to those discussions. During these discussions, I always noticed how fulfilled my wife and family looked when talking about their jobs. This is when I began to reflect on my own career and how I had no fulfillment and ended up hating the career I chose. After much discussion with my family and wife, I decided to change careers and attend APU for both my credential and my master's in digital teaching and learning. I chose APU because that was the school that all my family members, including my wife, attended. I was solely going to get my credential, but when I applied to APU, they discussed the master's in digital teaching and learning. I found this to be a great fit because in my previous career, I sold search engine marketing versus print marketing, and had to discuss why technology was necessary to reach younger generations. I felt that technology would need to be incorporated into the classroom for effective teaching, and this is where the future of teaching was heading. Now that I'm nearing the end of my schooling, I know that this was the right choice for me. Between obtaining my credential and my master's degree, I was fortunate enough to become an intern teacher at David Starr Jordan Middle School, and now I'm a credentialed full-time employee. This program has helped me to redesign my curriculum to incorporate technological tools to engage my students into the learning. Each of the 5 courses has helped add differentiation into my instruction. For example, Educ 512, Instructional Applications of Productivity Software, has helped me to become more proficient when utilizing the suite of Microsoft Office products such as Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and was able to create blogs and wikis. In Educ 514, Digital Video in the Classroom, I learned how to create videos utilizing programs like Windows Movie Maker. I also learned how to utilize Audacity to create audio files for the videos I was creating. In Educ 515, Evolving Educational Technologies, I learned how to incorporate videos into my blogs and wikis. In addition, I learned how to create podcasts and audio files, while again incorporating them into the blogs and wikis. This class made the most sense to me because I could visualize my classroom instruction and structure. Lastly, in Educ 522, Learning in the 21st Century, helped me to organize units that covered the necessary state-adopted academic standards while creating engaging lessons that incorporated technology. These courses have given me great skills to reach my future students. For my action research report, I chose a topic that I had noticed within my students since the first day of school. I'm an 8th grade algebra teacher and teach the lower level students that had either A, given up on math, or B, are scared of math. Every day I have students that lack confidence in math, and the answer I hear the most in class is, I can't. The students always feel that they can't succeed in math, even though they might actually have the right answers. In particular, I have a set of students that have aced my class, but always ask me if the answers are correct before giving me or the class answers. I wanted to find a way to motivate all of my students to have the confidence to succeed in math, and especially with those set of students. So I did research on the internet and found an engaging / motivating activity to conduct in my class. When researching potential solutions to motivate my students, I came across the fish story, and I decided to implement this strategy as soon as possible. It was a great time because I implemented this activity the day before the CST testing. The first thing I did was put goldfish crackers in individual snack bags for each student to have. I then greeted each student in each period at the door with a handshake and a hello. This is nothing from the normal, as I always greet my students at the door. Then I gave them the bag of goldfish. Of course, the majority of the students asked me what it was for, so I told them, you just have to wait for the story. Now, the story, to sum it up quickly, there was a fish who was in an experiment with scientists, and the first thing they did was give him minnows freely and he would eat. Then they changed the fish's feeding routine and they put the minnows in a tube within the actual aquarium. Now this fish wanted to get to its food source, so it kept trying harder and harder and harder to get the food but could never succeed. So eventually the fish gave up. So the scientists recognized this and then put the minnows back in the water freely so the fish could eat. All of my students assumed that the fish would then eat freely and be fine and happy again, but that is to the contrary. Actually, the fish died because it had given up on itself. And so this was a very, very interesting story about motivation, and my students seem to have gotten it. But as you can see with the results, it's a little bit different than I thought the presumable outcome would have been. The results were more difficult to measure because my results were qualitative rather than quantitative. But as you can see, kind of in the beginning, my observations were that all classes were engaged during the story. Everyone was telling each other to eat the fish and reminding each other about the story. And my class seemed to be motivated all through the CST testing. Then I went out because my daughter was born. And then when I came back in to class, it was a whole different story. Their confidence level had vanished. And we were studying for finals, and even my students told me I never taught them the material that they needed to know. So in conclusion, I feel that this implementation actually didn't work. But I think that's based on the timing of the project itself. I think if I did it at the beginning of the year, it might have had a completely different twist on it because it wasn't during CSC testing nor towards the end of the year. So I want to try it again one more time at the beginning of next year before I either... My unit plan focuses on solving 1, 2, and multi-step equations. The reason I've chosen this topic is because the students that learn these topics think it is either hard, uninteresting, and are often disconnected. This is a problem not only in solving equations, but with math in general. I wanted to focus on one topic that I felt was the most important in Algebra 1. Solving equations not only builds upon the basic prerequisite skills of simplifying expressions, writing equations, using formulas, and evaluating expressions, but this concept is also one of the main building blocks in algebra, just like the cornerstone in a Lego building. This concept lends itself to solving inequalities, graphing and writing linear equations, and solving systems of equations and inequalities. That equates to roughly 3/4 of the Algebra 1 curriculum. My goals of this curricular unit are the same as the state-adopted academic standards within the chapter. In addition, I want the students to comprehend why they need to learn these concepts. With the goals in mind for this curricular unit, I try to incorporate different technologies to cover the multiple intelligences of my students. The highlights of my unit plan are lessons that involve video creation, audio creation, wikis, Play-Doh, and digital manipulatives. The lesson I found to be the most intriguing is the final lesson of this unit that merges the students' newly acquired knowledge with technology. The students watch a video of a teacher singing and dancing the steps to solve a multi-step equation. The students are then required to search online and find a popular song that they want to change the lyrics to. The groups use Audacity, any video converter, Windows Movie Maker, or iMovie to create a music and dance video that has the steps to solving a multi-step equation. After the videos are completed, the students post them on the class wiki for future reference. And as you can see with my grading rubric, the grading is based on a scale of 1 to 4. 4 being that the video created incorporates background music and dance steps to correctly solve a multi-step equation. 3 being that video created incorporates background music and dance steps that have 1 error to solve a multi-step equation. A 2 would be 2 errors, and then a 1 would be it lacks anything incorporating background music, dance steps that have 2 or more errors. The beauty of this lesson is that almost all of the multiple intelligences are covered, and the students can feel comfortable in their roles. Another highlight of my unit is the utilization of the Play-Doh program. Play-Doh is an online program that takes students through a tutorial, like direct instruction, then have them take a mastery test at the end of the lesson to ensure comprehension has occurred. The assessment to this lesson is that students need to achieve 80% on the mastery test to move on to the next topic. If the students fail their test, then they have to take the tutorial again. This gives me the ability to individually help each student. Another highlight is the utilization of digital manipulatives. Almost all math teachers use manipulatives in one way or another to introduce or reinforce mathematical concepts. I will use digital algebraic tiles in which students will have an engaging hands-on activity while learning the new concept. The students will construct and solve 2-step equations. They will then create 5 equations, post them on the class wiki for others to solve. The students will select 5 questions from the class wiki to solve for the remainder of the lesson. This is just a glimpse into my curricular unit and how the digital teaching and learning program has molded my lesson and unit planning.